What's going on, everyone? My name is Nicholas Merton here at DataDash, and today is March 29th of 2022. Well, folks, I hope you are having a fantastic day wherever you are, and in today's video, I want to spend some time to talk about what I genuinely believe is one of the best investment opportunities we have throughout the rest of this bull market. And no, it's not some 100x altcoin or some shiny new protocol. Today, I want to spend some time to talk about why one of the most simple plays can be one of the best yielders in this market. And if you were to take a look at the list of coins here, we've got lots of names to choose from, but in today's video, we are going to be talking about Ethereum. Now, I know I've already got some of your heads spinning. Some of you are asking, Nick, why Ethereum? Ethereum is the second largest cryptocurrency, and therefore it is the largest technical altcoin, alternative cryptocurrency. Well, there's a lot of reasons for this as we're going to be going throughout the video, and all the while it might not seem very lucrative considering its size. I think it has a serious amount of growth potential, but at the same time, a very low risk profile versus going into highly speculative altcoins. So I ask that you all please stay tuned today. You guys aren't going to want to miss this video, especially if you're of the mindset of just passively investing into Bitcoin or trading Bitcoin. So we've got lots to dive into, as well as an interview with Stefan and Martin later on in the video, the founders of Unibright. So you guys definitely got to stay tuned for that. It plays a lot into what's going on in the Ethereum ecosystem in regards to enterprise adoption as we talk about the launch of Base Ledger. Now, let's go ahead and kick off the conversation here, guys. You've waited long enough. Let's take a look here at the ETH to BTC ratio. You guys know I've been beating it like a dead horse by this point that Ethereum has continued to hold up against Bitcoin. We've been seeing either consistent lows or higher lows since as far back during the first May correction, where most people were claiming we were in a bear market. And this is the first key telltale sign out of anything we've been tracking that the market is not in a bear market, that the market is growingly more riskier in this case, i.e., or to put it in better terms, people are taking more risks, they're getting more greedy, they're getting excited for the future, right? And that's a positive sign. It means the trend is in our favor to invest in crypto for the coming months and the next year. But I not only want to focus on the ETH to BTC ratio, but I want to go ahead and talk about how we could technically see Ethereum eventually flip Bitcoin. Now, I know this seems like a big claim. Bitcoin has been the king of crypto for a long time, but we've come very close to seeing this potential event in the past. And on top of that, it's not too far-fetched to think that Ethereum can not only continue to climb up equally as fast as Bitcoin, which we expect to go to around $3 to $4 trillion in market cap in this cycle, which is again a couple multiples from its current value at $47,000. So on top of that, we do expect that Ethereum will not only do the same, but it could possibly at some point or another outpace the market cap or total value of Bitcoin. A lot of people will say that that's crazy, but I'm going to show you all that it's very, very potentially likely here. Now let's go ahead and take a look here at the main chart I want to focus on here today. Okay, what we're taking a look at here is the Ethereum market cap divided by Bitcoin. When we effectively get up to this 1 point range here on the ratio, this effectively means that Ethereum is just as valuable as Bitcoin, right? Basically means at that point there is an equilibrium in valuation between these two plays. No matter what the valuation might be in dollar terms, whatever, they would be generally equal. And this is likely going to come as we see a heightened value in ETH to BTC ratio, i.e. that Ethereum is starting to continuously outpace Bitcoin on a short-term and long-term basis, right? Now, there are a few key phases that is going to get Ethereum to this point. I don't want you guys to take this chart to heart here, right? As we always talk about, don't take my drawings as gospel in this way. But I think we've been pretty accurate over the past year in predicting how this can play out. And I'm going to spend some time to give a quick summary as to what kind of steps we need to likely go through before ETH can actually flip Bitcoin. So this has a lot to do with the referenced ETH2 upgrades. Now, they generally don't refer to it as ETH2 anymore, but it's generally the network upgrades that Ethereum is going to experience in 2022 and 2023. The first event we need to consider here is the merge. Now, for those of you who don't know what the merge is referencing to, if you go to ethereum.org, they go through some of the details here. This is the next step here where Ethereum officially makes the full-scale transition from proof of work to proof of stake. And this is a major network upgrade, not only in the sense of how the network basically finds consensus over transactions, but on top of that as well is going to change the monetary policy dynamics of the Ethereum network versus the original inflation rate from mining. So that's a very big thing here, a beneficial factor for Ethereum that's not only going to positively shape its monetary policy, but is also going to help the network to scale long term. It's an essential step as the network goes through it. And the more of these upgrades that Ethereum goes through, it showcases that Ethereum will be able to reach this vision that it has had for a very, very long time. And many people, rightfully so, have been skeptical as to whether or not they could achieve, as Ethereum has a very different approach towards a lot of other layer 1 blockchains, whether they're building from the ground up or building EVM compatible blockchains or Ethereum virtual machine compatible chains. I digress though, I don't want to get too crazy here. I genuinely think that as we're going into this network upgrade, which is planned for Q2 of 2022, so we're really talking here between April to June here in the market, this is going to give us a window of time here where sometime between now and June, we could actually see Ethereum not only charter up towards this general resistance range that we've seen in this ascending channel, but on top of that, get above there and now start to move on to step 2, which is the consolidation phase. This is where there's a gap in time between the upcoming network upgrade that we're going to talk about next, and also probably a needed cooldown period where Ethereum is probably just going to hold up against how Bitcoin is performing, or maybe even trend slightly lower in this case. But our key goal here is that Ethereum against Bitcoin would hold on this previous line of resistance as new support. And this is a very common pattern that you have when you're setting up for another breakout, which we'll dive into in a moment. This kind of W pattern where you have consistent ranges of resistance, or maybe even slightly higher levels like we did back here with those higher lows, signaling that the market is not ready to dump ETH against Bitcoin. It is in fact still bullish on Ethereum against Bitcoin. And I think that's exactly what we saw on a heightened variation back here during April, all the way here to where we are here in March, this kind of consolidation sideways, right? And again, this happens after you have these kind of major waves in price, like we're expecting here and in step number 3 here. And this is the last major phase of upgrades on the Ethereum network planned to come in Q1 of 2023. And that is the shard chains. Now, again, we don't know exactly, and I'm sorry if I misspoke there. I said possibly Q1 of 2023. I don't know exactly if it's going to come in Q1, but it is planned for 2023. And to be honest, as they state on the website, if everything goes well with the merge, in this case, to proof of stake, then the sooner we're going to be able to get to that phase and see that go live, and if everything goes well, that is going to make shard chains much more streamlined and much more attainable within the earlier parts of 2023. I think the pressure of the crypto market is going to push Ethereum in that direction, that by the end of this cycle, we are going to see that. Now, if you guys might remember on the channel, we talked a lot about how we genuinely believe that this not only just the merge here, but really that the market top is going to be coming in sometime between February to March of 2023, after Bitcoin sets in its top, likely sometime within November of 2020, give or take a month before or after, right? We're not going to try to pick the absolute date, the absolute top. No one knows that, but we at least can get an estimated range here. And this sets up the roadmap here where we can not only build the base foundation during this consolidation phase after a rally here within the spring, but also really see market prices moving higher. And this lines up perfectly with the overall estimations we've kept on our chart here for a long time, guys. You guys know, if you've been watching the channel, I try not to touch these charts here, and I think we've been having a long-term thesis that's been playing out really well here. This idea that we can get back up here above this general resistance range at $2.5 to $3 trillion, make it new support, and really start to carry forward, not only with Bitcoin going up towards that 150K, 200K range, but also seeing Ethereum and the broader altcoin space trending higher. And that's an important thing to keep in mind here, guys, is that all the while, I think Ethereum is a great medium risk to medium reward play. I think we've got a solid roadmap here to kind of use as our guide here to turn previous historic resistance and the ratio against the currencies into new support and set off on that golden rally, that last major move. I want to make it very clear that this is going to set the foundation for a whole range of other altcoins to likely do well. So I'm not trying to discourage you guys from having exposure to other altcoins. Hey, that would be kind of a bit hypocritical. I've got a lot of exposure to altcoins, right? So I want to make that clear. But I think that if you're looking for something in between speculating on altcoins and just passively investing in Bitcoin, I think it is a perfect medium risk to medium reward play. Now, again, it's not financial advice. It's just what my words are, guys, my opinion, nothing more. Take it with a grain of salt and make sure to do your own due diligence before you invest in anything. I think that's important to state from time to time. But I digress on it, guys. That's it mainly here in regards to the conversation around Ethereum. There's a few quick things I want to share with you guys here first. First off, I'm going to be attending the Bitcoin Miami conference between April 6th to the 9th. I'm actually going to be attending the 7th. So if you guys happen to make it there, I would love to see you guys. You can use the code DATADASH to get 10% off any tickets. If you want to purchase, if you want to attend the event, it's going to be in Miami and Florida. And on top of that as well, I'm not going to be attending, but I wanted to give a shout out to one of my friends' conferences, Blockdown Croatia 2022. We've spoken at a lot of the Blockdown conferences, but in Croatia, they're going to be hosting a conference in the area. So if you guys are interested, you guys can check out the link down below in the description and use the code D-20 to get 20% off any tickets for the conference. Now, let's go ahead, guys, and dive into a very exciting conversation with Stefan and Martin from Unibright, which is going to be diving even further into the range of adoption of enterprise companies with a new launch of Base Ledger for the Unibright ecosystem. I'm so excited to chat about this with you guys, so let's go ahead and kick things off. Alrighty, everyone. So in today's interview, I'm sitting down with two titans in the enterprise blockchain space and people who I would consider friends I've got to know over the past couple of years. I'm here with Stefan and Martin, who are the co-founders of Unibright, first project I ever advised on in the crypto space. And it's incredible, guys, just to see how far you've come over the past couple of years. I want to thank you for taking the time. I know we've got a pretty exciting announcement to share today. So thank you both for taking some time out of your day.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Thank you, Nicholas. Always a pleasure and honor to be with you.
Awesome, guys. It's a pleasure to see you guys as well. So I want to go ahead and kick things off. The exciting news that we have to share here today is that Base Ledger, the project that the Unibright team has been working on for really over the last 2 years or so, is finally coming into fruition. It's finally launched here today. And I just want to, again, give big kudos. I understand from one founder to another, it's really nice to see something finally launch. But I want to go ahead, and for those who may not know about Base Ledger, even though we're going to dive into some of the exciting announcements around it, I want to go ahead and give you guys some time to explain a little bit about what Unibright is as a brand and as a project, because I think you guys have a long history in ERP systems, working with enterprise applications. So tell a little bit about what Unibright's goal is long term, where you guys came from, and how this all manifested into what Base Ledger is today.
Yeah, I mean, it's been quite a while since we founded Unibright in 2017, and we're especially happy that we have this interview with you because you know the complete Unibright story. I mean, being in the space for about 5 years now already makes us like, I don't know, very, very old people as we are actually.
Feel like dinosaurs.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, the idea behind Unibright was basically to transform the experience that Martin and I had with our former companies in terms of business integration, so connecting IT systems, and to transform that into the blockchain space. It's been quite a journey since then. We started with our own framework for smart contract generation, and had also accompanying products like in the DeFi space with Frequity and so on. Base Ledger is the latest addition to, let's say, the Unibright story in terms of a decentralized application. So in the beginning, we started with our own products, and now we have a blockchain for enterprises that want to synchronize their processes. So for us, it's finally something that also puts all the other efforts that we put into Unibright in the last years into perspective. And it's still close to what we are most used to in the computer science space, meaning ERP systems, integrating SAP systems, writing connectors from one system to the other. And now we have an underlying blockchain for that we also connected.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. Unibright is all about enterprise blockchain adoption and how can companies make use of blockchain technology? How can they connect their systems to blockchains and get some benefits from it? And as Stefan said, when we started 2017 with the Unibright framework, we created smart contracts, which mainly went onto Ethereum, and we had companies to connect their systems to them. But then we learned during the years that chains like Ethereum or Bitcoin, they are perfect for cryptocurrencies or DeFi applications, but are missing features that are needed for enterprise usage. And that was when we started to develop the concept of Base Ledger. So asking and seeing what's missing, which features are missing, and we took these features and built Base Ledger to fulfill them.
So I wanted to build on the points you guys brought up there, because I think what's so cool about Unibright being around in this space since 2017 and launching in 2018 to the public, I think what's so nice is that you guys not only have the years of experience from your career paths that you took over the past couple of decades, but on top of that as well, in the past couple of years, you've gotten to get knee deep into the crypto space and actually work with a lot of major enterprise brand names who are eager. They're on the, basically on the fence about making these moves into crypto. But through those experiences, through the kind of persistency of building various different projects tied for enterprise applications, you learned about a lot of the problems. So the Unibright framework, I think, was a great first step for that, where again, you guys were able to take down the barriers of needing to get a Solidity engineer to deploy smart contracts, the Explorer in this case for when contracts were deployed so you could get valuable insights, all kinds of things. But even in that process, I think you guys probably learned that there were still those barriers holding back companies in the space. And again, as you mentioned, Martin, which is basically that if you were to just interact on the Ethereum blockchain or Bitcoin blockchain, there's so many limitations that keep enterprise companies from being able to actually utilize these systems. And that's ideally, if I have it right, ideally where Base Ledger comes in. Base Ledger effectively acts as a layer 2 on top of all the major protocols where businesses are able to do messaging services, be able to interact with one another, and basically utilize Ethereum and Bitcoin as per se a settlement layer in this case, maybe for security or for transactions of different types. Whereas Base Ledger is a much more scalable, much more cost-effective, GDPR compliant way for businesses to interact on top of these protocols.
Exactly. I think what we learned in the last years, in the first years, it was more about a technical barrier for the companies that we try to help with our framework and so on. And then we went into a phase of adoption where we saw, okay, the technical stuff is you can handle it. Yeah? For example, we also contributed to that with our SAP connector that our partner Concircle was able to get certified by SAP officially last year. So the technical stuff is solved, but still there's a lot of hurdles to overcome when it comes to, for example, price stability. So if you want to somehow get your IT budget fixed and you need a certain amount of transactions on a blockchain and you can tell your manager, will the gas costs be like $10 or will they be $70? Because yesterday a great Bored Ape fills up the internet and the blockchain. So that's where Base Ledger comes in, because we add, for example, this cost predictability. So we're now moving from technical things are solved, clients are happy, or enterprises are happy to do POCs, and now we want to transfer into the phase where enterprises are happy to do their productive stuff on a blockchain like Base Ledger.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, taking their business processes and being able to anchor or synchronize them on Base Ledger by having a solution that offers fixed and low transaction costs, starting with €1. We have a fiat gateway, so companies don't need to get into crypto. We can handle it and convert the fiat into UBT tokens, which are needed. We have guaranteed high performance, so there is no need to wait for a transaction to be mined like, I don't know, minutes or even hours. We have more or less instant response. And the data compliance thing is often forgotten, but it's very important to companies, like being able to tell where do the validator nodes run, who's running them. And this can be shown as Base Ledger is council governed, and the council has contracts with the node operators. So there's much things in terms of data compliance are solved. And with our Base Ledger proxy, we have the built-in integration, so an easy setup for getting SAP or other ERP systems connected to the ledger, which is essential.
You hit on that point, Martin, about the data compliance aspect. I don't know, again, like about every single company you guys have gotten to chat with, but I know that for any of the projects that I followed focused on enterprise systems, the honest case is that most of the time you get to that proof of concept phase where you build partnerships and collaborate on things. And it's all great and fun. And then at the end of the day, as you mentioned, Stefan, it never gets to the full production version. The companies aren't really using it on like a highly active basis for most of the kind of enterprise partnerships. And I think that that's a beautiful thing that you guys have, again, tried to constantly critique on, like, what kind of things can we do better as an industry to get companies' feet in the door, to actually start utilizing these applications. And I think, again, as you guys had hit on now, we now can get to that phase where we're going to see hopefully widespread enterprise adoption of smart contracts and utilization of Ethereum and all these other networks with the help of Base Ledger and the Baseline protocol. Yeah. So I'm very excited to see this. But I think one thing that, again, sometimes I know we can get too big in the thick of it on like the macro scale and the technical talk. I want to hear from you guys, if we think about this in practical business terms, what's a good example of where Base Ledger could be utilized in real world business? Because I think we know of all kinds of industries that could benefit from smart contracts and blockchain, but maybe there's a good example that can really kind of drive home why Base Ledger really serves as a value proposition for companies getting into the space.
Yeah, so basically with Base Ledger, you can solve the same integration problems that would be there without blockchain. So let's make an example. You're a small company, we're a big company, or the other way around.
The other way around.
And we're exchanging data like orders or invoices. So we somehow have to get an integration done on our IT systems. You have to be able to send it to me. I have to be able to read it into my system and get it into the accounting system or whatever. So until now, we can just work on point-to-point integrations. You can send your invoice to me by mail or by, for example, if you're using an SAP, by standard SAP channels. And with Base Ledger, we have now an underlying layer where we can synchronize and notarize that this exchange happened. So you send your invoice to me. We both agree that we have the same version of the invoice, and we do the handshake, and we store that handshake. We notarize it on Base Ledger. So afterwards, nobody can claim, I never received that invoice. I received a different invoice. You never sent it to me. Oh, I didn't get the payment terms. Because we both agreed with a notarizable and not changeable handshake on the blockchain. So this is the Base Ledger value proposition. If you remember that Base Ledger evolved out of the Baseline protocol discussions. Of course, Baseline goes even further because one central point in Baseline is the proposition that you can prove to third parties that we both exchanged this data without sharing all the details with a third party. Example, you sent your invoice to me, I agreed it, and we notarized it on Base Ledger. And now the tax authority wants to be sure, did you put the right tax ID on your invoice? But we don't want to show them the details of the invoice, like the articles that I sold to you, or the conditions, the discount, or whatever. Then all the topics around zero knowledge proof come into play. Personally, Martin and me, we are both convinced that there are many, many use cases that we should not miss, that do not need this proof towards third parties now. It's a nice future addition, but there is enough room for just solving the integration case and notarizing and synchronizing our states of our systems and notarizing this on the blockchain.
So you were saying on that case, Stefan, like basically if there's some kind of way I want to prove to the world, as you mentioned, zero knowledge proofs, using cryptographic proofs to be able to showcase this transaction happened, it contained these necessary details and everything happened as intended originally. So I think that that's really huge. And again, I think people sometimes don't understand with like SAP, because it's a bit complex unless you work in the industry sometimes, but there's so many inefficiencies sometimes with traditional SAP systems that Base Ledger could really start to solve for. And I think it's not even just, again, utilizing blockchain technology in this industry, but also as well being able to build a much better, more modernized system for all these companies that are using legacy, ERP systems. So I'm very fascinated to see the kind of potential that we'll see post-launch. And one thing I wanted to ask you guys about is, in regards to launching Base Ledger, now that we've gotten this public onto into the market, I'm curious to hear about what are some major roadmap milestones that are kind of some things people can look forward to. And also if you guys have any pairing announcements as well with the launch of Base Ledger today that might be worth sharing as well.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, Base Ledger is a growing ecosystem. So Martin, for example, mentioned the Fiat Gateway. So this was not is not offered by Unibright itself, but from one of the players in the ecosystem that are also in the council and in the validator set. So the blockchain technically could and should grow to a small three-figure numbers of validators in the future. So this is, I think, the most important thing, that the blockchain itself grows and the validation power grows. And all the things that come with it, I have the feeling that many, especially players in the blockchain space, often underestimate that. They pick a technical term of a blockchain and then tell you why this blockchain is better than this blockchain. But in an enterprise integration scenario, you need the full service. Martin mentioned the proxy, so our integration tool, which we just open sourced last week officially. So the next steps will definitely come with adoption by enterprises using the proxy to connect to Base Ledger. And with it, hopefully new developers adding other connectors. So we don't have only SAP certified connectors, but perhaps in the future, Dynamics certified and Oracle certified. And for all the big players, we should have certified connectors that are able to connect with Base Ledger.
Yeah.
This is the major task.
Yeah, perhaps in addition to the outlook, I mean, let's make clear that Base Ledger and everything around it is meant to be an open and inclusive ecosystem. So that's why we decided to open source the proxy a few days ago, and we know that SAP is working on it. We want to incentivize everyone to build upon the Base Ledger proxy and Base Ledger, which is openly available on GitHub as well. So things can be added to it. We can have new connectors, as you said. That's a very vital step, I guess. We don't have a chance with a, let's say, vendor lock-in mechanism thing. We don't want that. We want something that the community is building upon. We want to give back to the community. We got a lot from the baseline community and hope that these people can engage too. So it's moving away from being centralized. That's what we did with Base Ledger and the open sourcing.
Yeah, and it's also a chance for the complete ecosystem if an infrastructure component is not coming from one big player. So of course, all the big players have their own integration solutions. They're not blockchain based, but still they have. But it's always harder for a competitor of, say, SAP to adapt to the integration standard of SAP because they have their own integration standard.
Right.
But if you have something that is per definition already a network and is decentralized and is built in a way to engage as many different players, be they small, big enterprises, users, developers, then all the big players are also more fine with adapting the standard because they're not directly feeding their competitor, but they are just widening the range to access more clients because they can finally use that integration layer to, I don't know, connect to SAP. So I think it's something new in the space that coming also from the blockchain ecosystem, that smaller players can help defining standards that the biggers adapt and not the other way around. That's the very good outlook for solutions like Base Ledger.
Yeah, and I guess part of it for incentivizing the community and getting Unibright and the UBT ecosystem known to a broader public, that was one of the drivers why we decided to donate a large amount of UBT to the proxy staking solutions that is in place. It's just about giving back and getting the ecosystem accelerated, and that's what we want to see, a growing ecosystem around Base Ledger, UBT, and the whole blockchain technology, so to say, for making it usable or more usable for enterprises.
Well, guys, it's been a long time coming and you guys have finally gotten to reveal it. I know that's probably incredibly exciting. It'll be so cool. And as you mentioned, as you guys have open sourced it, you kind of left it open to the public. Small, medium-sized enterprises can also partake as well in building the standards and improving it. The last thing I was going to ask you guys, now that we've got this exciting launch, how can people kind of play a role in it and stuff, whether it be on the side of the UBT token and helping to run the network, but on top of that as well, like just getting engaged and learning more? What would be some good resources for people to turn to?
Perhaps we have to distinguish between, let's say, the users, the developers, and for ecosystem UBT holders, for example. So the developers, it's quite easy. As Martin mentioned, the code itself is on GitHub.
GitHub.com/baseledger.
Yeah, and the proxy itself is fully open source. So you can also fork it and work on your own, let's say, limited knowledge implementations like we at Unibright did with the Trust Mesh thing. But you could also write zero knowledge proof libraries. We know that, for example, the University of Vienna is actively working and contributing to components of the proxy. So it should be, from the developer side, it should be a growing open source ecosystem. The user side, of course, they should make use of all the adapters and connectors that are available and that are about to come to not only build POCs with it, but now having all arguments they needed to really move to the productive phase. And yeah, for UBT holders, I think it's very interesting that some of the validators are actively offering or working on offerings towards proxy staking. We had the first one going live last Thursday. And then, as Martin said, we made the decision to support that and also to give back something to the community with the donation as staking rewards. So with more validators coming in, we hope and we work for that there are also competitive proxy staking offerings so that really the complete ecosystem can benefit from Baseledger and give something back in terms of security, because the more validators we have, the better the network is secured, and we still have the performance and easy to use aspects at the very top. That's very important.
And I mean, additionally, of course, you can from top level start looking at baseledger.net or the docs at docs.baseledger.net. I think we put a lot of effort into not only explaining Baseledger, but the broader concepts behind it, like what's Baseline about, what's the pain points enterprises have. So educating on these sides might be a starting point as well.
Very cool. No, on those points, guys, I think
write an email to us. We will get in contact with everyone. So just engage.
Absolutely. No, I think you guys brought up the good ones and stuff like reading the docs and some of the major resources that are available on Baseledger's website. So if you guys are interested, if you're watching the interview this far and stuff and you stay tuned, then definitely check out the links down below in the description. We'll put all the good resources down there. Definitely not only want to get participants in the UBT ecosystem, but I love how you guys focused first on the engineers and getting more developers in the space. It's about time. And now, as you mentioned, we've cleared through all the arguments. It's time to start building some real applications in the space and getting enterprises excited again against the potential with blockchain and smart contracts. So guys, I mean, this has been a really exciting conversation. I appreciate you guys taking time out of your day. I know it's a busy time. So thank you guys for tuning in. I really appreciate it. And we'll have you back on the channel sometime in the near future.
Cool. Thanks you so much. Excited. Thanks.